Expect some very, very strong opinions and plenty of healthy debating as well. For our moderation, we have Dan from Hot Drop, and our speakers include Santiago from Fitchin, Nicholas from Meta Game Hub, Amanpreet from Unilever, and Warren from Reality Plus. Please put your hands together for them.
Hello, everybody. Can you...
Hello.
Hello.
Hear me okay? Great. Well, good afternoon. For those that don't meet, my name's Daniel Cole, Head of Partnerships at Hot Drop. Well, firstly, thank you for joining us to listen to what I think will be an extremely interesting discussion about what can Web3 actually bring to esports and maybe even the sort of wider gaming industry as well. Thankfully, the ESI team have assembled us, and I can say this with experience from knowing a few of these guys and speaking to them recently, some super knowledgeable people on what's happening in Web3. So hopefully plenty for us to learn from. Cool. So before we get into the thick of it, I think we should probably start with some introductions. If we can maybe start with you, Santiago, if that's okay. Just sort of intro into yourself and sort of the company you work for and what you do there. That'd be great.
You put me in the spotlight.
Yeah, straight on the spot.
Okay. Yeah, I'm founder and CEO of Fitchin. It's a Web3 company that tries to bridge the gap between esports teams and their fans, and by doing so, reimagining the way that esports teams monetize this fan base.
Thank you.
Awesome. Pleasure to be here, guys. I'm Nicholas, the founder of Meta Game App DAO. We're basically a one-stop shop for the open metaverse, where we address, especially from the B2B side, the current needs. So we, on the one hand, develop AI models for pricing valuations of NFTs. And complementary to this, we also develop agnostically in different virtual worlds like Decentraland, Sandbox, and so on for IP in different industries, whether it's esports, traditional sports, and other industries entering the space. And we have a strong partnership with Fitchin, so looking forward to the panel.
Free.
Hey guys, hi. I'm Amanpreet. I work with Unilever. I'm part of the global media team in Unilever, and I currently lead the gaming and the Web3 agenda for our major Unilever brands. I'm an ex-professional gamer. I did 4 years of professional gaming for India, 2008 to 2012, and then did a couple of startups in gaming. So come from a very gaming esports background, but now kind of living my dream with the best job in Unilever, helping our brands get on the front line of gaming. So very happy to be talking here.
Go on, Warren.
Save the best, yeah. Warren Lincoln, Senior Projects Manager for Reality Plus. Reality Plus is a blockchain and Web3 agency. Work with a lot of IP rights owners and make magic happen. So,
great, thank you guys, and thanks for sharing this sort of stage and helping me through this. So, look, I think a good place for us to start, really, and for those of us in the room that aren't Web3 natives, is to get a bit of an explanation as to sort of like what Web3 is, what changes it can bring to what we do as consumers and maybe as industry in the room in the digital world. So, Warren, if you don't mind kind of like taking us on that journey, and then if the guys want to sort of jump in and help add some flavor to that, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. Litmus test, right? Web3. So the way I like to distill it is Web3 is it's effectively an evolution of Web2. Web2 is where we're quite native now, where we do everything e-commerce. There is interaction online, but actually Web3 is an extension of where we can kind of meet people natively, be more part of that user journey, and I think connect in a more meaningful way. It's absolutely, for me, the future of what technology can bring. Guys, you want to chime in?
Yeah, happy. From my side, I think 2 core parts in regards to Web3 are crucial to mention, right? So you already mentioned it's like an evolution also from Web 2, and what's omnipresent in Web 2 is, of course, centralized intermediaries, right? Whether it is platforms like Steam, Uber, Amazon, all these guys, they take a lot of cuts of, so to say, as being that intermediary of the revenue that is generated. But generally speaking, you don't even need a company to fulfill that role necessarily, right? And in Web3, it's all about having protocols that are governed and owned, at least in the utopian vision, by the community, and that then facilitate these these basically resources and these functions that typically, at least in Web 2, also these centralized parties inherit. Complementary to this, or additionally to that, Web3 also provides a tangibility of value, right, in the digital economy, in the internet in general, right, through the tokenization. So whether it is data, whether it is, in-game assets, whether it is real estate, right, anything at some point can be tokenized, even humans, right, people are already working on that. So that's like one of the core pillars that Web3 provides. And going maybe quickly down the road of the metaverse, the way I position the metaverse in connection with Web3 is that the metaverse itself, at least the current hype that everyone is talking about, is kind of the embodiment of user adoption in Web3, right? Because people are not going to, first of all, spend most of their time in 2D platforms. I mentioned that in the keynote earlier, right? To those that are still there, it's a bit redundant, I know, sorry. And on the other hand, people are also kind of, more looking for these immersive experiences, plus the user experience in general right now in these Web 2 platforms, whether it is in the DeFi space, Web 3 platforms, whether it is in the DeFi space or other industries, the user experience is horrible, right? So we need a much more intuitive way to onboard the users, and here the metaverse is, so to say, the embodiment of that, yeah.
Anybody else?
The only thing I would add, you all have said a lot of things. The only thing I would say is, for me, is taking out all the buzzwords, and which I think that in a way has contaminated what Web3 is, because people get hung up on the technology behind it, when the important thing here is, with this technology, with this advancement, what we are seeing is the whole community getting a pie of whatever is built. And you are not just a user, but also an owner, and that generates a lot of traction in the community, generates a lot of opportunities for every stockholder, and it changes the way that Web 2 was done, or how we communicate with others, and how we stop just one receiving and the other one giving, but it's more collaborative, and new experiences and things are built from there.
Yeah, I think Santiago probably summed it up for me, because half of my job is explaining Unilever brand marketeers and normal people who don't understand gaming and Web3s, what is Web3, what is the difference between Metaverse and Web3. I think the way I classify it is that a lot of the Metaverse right now sits on Web 2, Web 2.5 platforms. On Web3, it's all about ownership and access. That's the key word. Ownership is the key word, because we are a consumer goods company, and ultimately, if you want to involve consumers and the general people who don't understand what crypto is and what gaming is, they need to be having skin in the game. And that's where ownership and access to stuff that is usually very fandom-like comes into the picture. So for us, we look at Metaverse as the front-end layer of engagement for consumers with brands, and Web3 as the back-end layer built on the blockchain, where NFTs, tokens, and everything can come in and basically play the game that that provides access and ownership to people in front of their hands. So it's about ownership, it's about loyalty, it's about fandom, it's about getting those elements from consumers into their mainstream games.
Cool, thank you everybody. I hope that's helpful as an introduction to everybody in the room as well. So I think a natural progression from that is maybe like a little bit of an introduction of sort of like, the title of this panel was, what can Web3 really bring to gaming and esports. So like, what are the general offerings that are sort of already out there that, what will it bring us as an industry? And maybe Nicholas and Santiago can think about it from an industry perspective, and then also as a consumer. So not necessarily for the people in the room as with their industry hats on, but as consumers of gaming and esports products. What does that look like? And maybe that's one for Amarpreet and Warren to tackle.
Yeah, so basically I think in regards to the adoption curve in general and how we can generally bring adoption toward Web3 and the Metaverse, specifically, of course, also from the perspective of the gaming industry, I think esports is the spearhead there, right? Where, since like, I don't know, 2014, 15, people have been talking about gaming industry is going to be the key for that adoption. Where when Bitcoin's only utility was payment, now that utility is gone, but that's a different story. But going back to the question, right? Even then, people are talking about it, but the issue is that there is not a clear path, right, that has been defined. And right now, there's not really many projects out there yet, really, that have a clear vision on how do you actually want to onboard the gamers, right? Because so far it was always about, oh yeah, we have incentive mechanisms, you make so much more money, but again, these incentive-based token models, they're super inflationary, right? And then you have kind of a model a la FET, right, which is just kind of dumping tokens on the market. That's unsustainable. Short term, yes, of course, it solves an issue of providing, so to say, equal access in a way to capital, but sadly in an unsustainable way. And therefore, also the approach should not be to just, generally approach the entire gaming industry and all the big game developers, but start in a gradual and phased approach with esports as the spearhead, then kind of leveraging the communities of esports, especially what, for instance, Ficin is doing, right? And then subsequently expanding toward the broader gaming industry.
But then 100 Thieves onboarded 700,000 wallets on OpenSea. So as an esports team, if we're talking about onboarding and bringing fan bases into communities, like, let's use the tools that exist. 100 Thieves did that. They did very well. If you guys go to OpenSea now, it's a marketplace trading platform. You'll see there's 705,000 active wallets that exist. So where are they now? Like over 1 million fans or so? Yeah? So when we talk about onboarding, like if we use the tools and mechanics of marketing in a Web3 native way to get to those audience users, bring them into a technical environment which they can actually really benefit from. Like this whole panel is about how Web3 can then value to esports. Yeah. What are the key challenges in esports right now? Revenue, raising money, sponsorship, like building loyalty with brands, building fan base and community. Web3 addresses a lot of that. It does that because it looks at the native issues that exist and gives you decentralized ownership. And more importantly, these tools exist. Sorry, Ambrit, go ahead, man.
No, I'm just adding to, I think, what you were saying. So let's divide the esports ecosystem in the way we look at it. There is fans, there are teams, there are events, there are brands, there are publishers who are creating those games. If that is the construct we are playing in, then I believe, and I'm more optimistic and I'm more bullish on the growth in general, that Web3 has a role to play in each of these. For example, if you start with fans, I think fans in general in the esports industry, it's been like 10 years, 15 years since the industry has flourished. They've always sat on the front sidelines, cheering for their best teams, for their best players, but they haven't had a skin in the game still. It's only a spectator sport. They haven't been involved the way they should be. That's where I see, for example, things like NFTs, fan tokens, virtual fandom coming in, where if you issue these stuffs, for example, imagine Fnatic and G2 issuing fan tokens, which kind of provides access to their players, access to the streams, access to exclusive events, right? Stuff that usually general people won't have, beyond the simple merchandising and stuff like that. So that's something I think from a pure fan point of view is something which I would value a lot, right? Because I now have a skin in the game. If you look at, for example, brands, for example, biggest brands in Unilever, for example, we are trying to talk to the end audience and the idea of making esports big is to get more and more people into the game, right? How can Web3 bring more and more people into the game? It won't be bringing people who have wallets, who hold crypto, ETHs and all. It would be bringing people who have never experienced gaming, never had a wallet in their kitty to be playing games. So essentially, we are looking at use cases where we could do gasless, walletless minting on NFTs. How can we ensure, for example, credit cards and general payment mechanisms can help you own an NFT from a top esports team, which can you can call them your own. So in terms of, for example, teams, we look at loyalty programs, for example. We are a consumer goods company, so we run loyalty programs all across the board for our brands. We are looking at NFTs as a way to drive loyalty for the future. Gone are the days where we are issuing coupons and coupon codes and discount coupons to our consumers to be part of a brand story. No. We are looking to issue NFTs. We're looking to drive loyalty through NFTs, and esports and gaming in general has a big role to play, because people game because they love being there. The amount of engagement you have is so huge. And if you are able to club the whole esports and the gaming industry in general with the whole loyalty paradigm, then it's a haven space for brands.
You have touched a lot of things that we're trying to do.
Yeah.
So just not to be self-referential here, I do think that there's a lot of things that can be done from NFTs as a way of unlocking benefits from the team. And we are kind of working on that and trying to do that, and there's a lot of value there. How we see it also is where it can help even more or become even bigger is building this brand together between the fans and the teams. Because by decentralizing this brand in a way, you're not selling part of your team. Yes, you are allowing your fans to be the ones that push your brand forward. They are the owners of, or they have some rights on this avatar that represents your team and has been built with the community and by the community. Now this brand is, in a way, co-generated between the different parties, and you can expand that brand to the next levels. And that next levels might be just getting yourself into a game and being represented inside that game by that, but it can also be taking that into a shop and being the name of the shop being your brand and your name, and then what is for the teams to win from there? Yeah, they can sell wearables and a lot of things for that avatar, but it's even more important having that brand that it's not just what you're showing in a screen in Twitch for that game or that championship, but now you have a whole world that represents you, it's you, and it's being pushed by the community to next levels.
Cool, thank you guys. There's a couple of points in there that I think were raised that I think it'd be good to expand on, I guess from my own selfish point of view, to sort of dive into that a little bit further, and hopefully it helps some people in the room. I think two key points really is like the adoption at a consumer level. I appreciate there's always going to be some concerns at industry level around kind of like what that adoption looks like as well. But consumer level adoption, I think, could be a nice point to go down, and also revenue. And I know that in prep for this panel, actually last week, myself, Nicholas, and Santiago spent some time on a call, and they're currently working on some technologies that will help revenue generation specifically for esports teams. So maybe if we start with the revenue side of stuff, some of you guys wanted to jump into. I know we've touched upon it a little bit, but I think to sort of go down that rabbit hole a bit, because I think it'd be interesting for the teams and stuff that are in the room as well. Yeah,
from the revenue generation, when you're having people buy your memberships passes in the form of NFTs to get more from the team, that's a way of generating revenue directly from your fan base. Then, as I just described on the avatar, building skins, wearables, and everything around it, that's another way, and that goes more into expanding the digital assets or digital things that are being built by the teams. Just now, most of that is just built by the publishers. They sell billions into Fortnite, Roblox, and every game, right? Now, teams are able to push that or generate this with their fans, and I'm saying with because it's in a way it's collaborative. It's for everyone there. Going back to your first question on how to onboard them and how to bring these communities to play with this, a lot has to do with making this as seamless as possible. Right now, many people are caught up with buzzwords and make them think it's very far away from them, very difficult, very unapproachable. And to be fair, it's something that gamers have been doing for years now. An NFT, what's the difference between an NFT and a skin in Fortnite? The only difference is you can sell it and you can own it, but it's a digital asset, it's a digital picture. What's the difference with VBUC and having USDC or some other currency out there in crypto? Well, one is inside a game and the other one you can take it outside the game and pay for your groceries. So we are not that far from there. The only thing is, right now it feels a little bit shady, feels a little bit out of touch, feels a little bit too far away. But we are accustomed to it. We are very much into it.
And also from my side, maybe to add to that, from the revenue stream side, something that personally interests me a lot also is the data aspect, right? So data is something that, in my opinion, is one of the most valuable assets, right? In general, it's the oil of the internet, if you wish. But at the same time, of course, as we all know, data is not something that is tangible yet, right? At least in Web 2, it's not tangible. Through tokenization, it becomes tangible. And through democratization, it becomes, accessible. Going back to also what you said in regards to access is a core feature, right? So it becomes accessible for people to monetize that data. And specifically in the gaming industry, right? So I have to say I'm more from the Web 3 side than gaming actually. And speaking to people, at this conference here and also at Gamescom 2 weeks ago, for instance, was basically that there is also a lack of standardization in regards to analytical data, for instance. And here, on the one hand, that can be enhanced in a way through Web3, right? Through more standardization, more transparency in regards to the data itself. Plus, also imagine you as a person that is constantly engaging with the internet, whether it is through a video game, whether it's through a social experience, whether it's through an education experience, whatever it is, right? You're constantly producing data that if anyone is monetizing it, it's not you, right? But through Web3 and that convergence also with the gaming industry, for instance, as one of the, let's say, pillars of adoption, of early adoption here, you can change that actually. And then data can even become a form of passive income, of passive revenue for the teams, right? For the gamers, and in general, I would say from the revenue perspective, or generally from the profit perspective, one of the key features is that, gamers turn from consumers to investors and owners, right? And yeah, that's a key part from my side.
Yeah, I think just to add on to that last part, I'm not a fan of the phrase play to earn. I think it's more playing and earning. But in general, if you had to bring fans more into the esport industry, the way is probably, and I'm speaking more as a gamer, not as a marketeer, is having a stake for them in the way teams are created, the way teams are played, and the way teams are run. So essentially look at, and I'm actually surprised, why don't we have auctions for esports teams and players? Like essentially, why are all the deals done behind the closed doors, and why Fnatic, G2s, and Navis of the world are the way they are? I think it's time we open up this space where, for example, I'm just saying, for example, a Fnatic is issuing fan tokens to its community, and fans dictate what players they want. And essentially, it's like a stock market, like kind of a business model where teams are competing against each other's. The fans kind of bidding their tokens onto a particular team and players, and they're earning as the team performs well. So let's open this world up a bit more, where fans have an equal stake into how teams are running, and they have just more than joy to look forward to when the teams win. So I think that sort of a business model is where the whole concept of tokenomics, tokens, fan tokens, NFTs can come into, and Web3 can come into picture, because if I hold a Fnatic token, then I'm a stakeholder in the company, and I'm a stakeholder in the team, and I'm a stakeholder in the way the company is run. That is what I want in the future. So I think that's just one bit on the business model and the revenue model bit.
I think just one more thing. Is that all right?
Do you want to add to that? Or?
Yeah,
Go for it.
I won't take long, I promise. Don't underestimate children. They already are becoming very native with crypto. So the V-Bucks, COD points, EA points, these aren't things they can go and use and transact outside the ecosystem of the games they're playing. But they already are becoming very, very aware in large, arguably scale metaverses what their impact means. And if they're becoming native at a very young age, my daughter is 9 years old, she already knows a lot more than I do, then really what we're trying to do is address that user adoption for maybe people a little bit closer to our age, right? And not being terrified to kind of say change is good if change means more ownership and change means more value. We're all also struggling because of how challenging the economic downturn is. There are factors outside of this stage and this panel that are making people worried. So people are looking now for a diversity in their asset class. They're looking to pivot towards things that are interesting and exciting. And I think workshops and social media are a dab hand at really helping to drive wider awareness at why decentralized communities are interesting, why decentralized cryptocurrency could be a factor that could be for good, and actually why digital ownership could be a good thing.
Yeah, I think just one point to add. I think I agree that the kids of the future will have cryptocurrencies and everything sorted for them. But I think it's because we are in the present looking at the 2-year, 3-year horizon. Let's ask people in the audience how many of them actually have a wallet. I think
it'd be good to know.
Maybe 50% of you will probably have a wallet.
75%.
And the fact that you are sitting here, you are more savvy than the others out there. People don't have wallets. People don't own crypto. People don't. And as a result, they are not a part of the Web3 work stream. They think that to own an NFT, I'll have to pay a gas fee, which is like $10, $15. So essentially, the barrier to adoption is to make the whole sign-up and the inclusion process more seamless. The reason why Facebook and Instagram was a hit because the sign-up process was very seamless. You just have an email address, log in, it's there. The challenge with opening a
Are you sure you're not working in 15?
Sorry?
Are you sure you're not working with me?
No, I'm not.
One of the things we're doing and just and making your point on how hard it is the wallets and I'm not just talking about me, but how this has advanced is now you can have a wallet by using your Web2 access, like social media, and it's something that we actually put it into our home base. Why? Because the same thing, it's right now, it feels shady, it feels worrisome. You could download a wallet and this seed phrase where I write it, it shouldn't be in my computer. If it gets hacked, I lose my money. If I leave it in the paper, I lose the paper and I lose my money. So you get a little bit anxious about that. The technology is advancing in a way that difference or that gap is being filled up, and that's when the adoption also.
Yeah, I think we need to just defragment the whole crypto element from tokens. That's what I think, because there's a lot of cynicism around cryptocurrencies, governments not recognizing it, banks not recognizing it, crypto is going down, there's crypto winter, agree. Crypto is an investment tool. This is not the forum to talk about it, but I'm just saying tokens in general as a tool to signify ownership and access is something that needs to be appraised for. Let's look at tokens and cryptocurrencies separately and use tokens as a way to give more ownership and access to people to help gaming and esports industry in general.
Cool, thank you guys. We've got a little over 5 minutes left, so I don't know if there's anyone in the room that might have some questions that they want to ask the guys. If so, feel free to stand up and do so. I do have some more stuff here if not, but I think it'd be nice to have the interaction and give you the opportunity to probe these guys and ask some questions. No? All good, no worries. So I do have one question that I think is, and this is, I think it comes from more of a consumer of NFT, maybe like esports level. I think that there's a divide, and this may be a social thing more than a real world thing, of the adoption of these technologies and the concern of their legitimacy maybe. And that's down to sort of project by project, not necessarily as a blanket term for NFTs. So there was a question here for Warren around kind of like maybe going down the route of like mainstream ownership of NFTs. What does that look like? What does it mean for people that are concerned about the legitimacy of these projects? How can we overcome a little bit of that?
Yeah, so it's tricky. Like recently, there was the Liverpool FC drop that some of you may or may not know about. For great causes, want to generate money for charity. 95% of their NFT, their non-fungible token, their digital asset artwork, didn't sell. They made over £1 million £5 still for charity, which is great. But then there was a League Two football team, WAGMI United, that some of you guys might know, and those guys, well, they bought Crawley Town, a League Two team, for 20 million. So attitudes to people's, I think, digital ownership and what they can get are really changing. With Reality Plus, who I represent, we just executed a drop for Thunderbirds. Some of you may or may not know it was 60s intellectual property, but actually what a fantastic opportunity to take something which is a legacy IP and then realise it in Web3 in a different way and give it a new lease of life and give it, I think, a new lifeblood. So there's a lot to be excited for what digital ownership now can do, I think, for brands, for rights holders, for esports teams, for businesses. You know, like arguably these guys sitting in front, there will be representatives from esports teams that are trying to work out how do we change what our revenues are looking like, how do we improve that P&L at the end of the financial year, and I think consumers, fans, they're looking for digital interaction in a really native way. And I've seen it a lot with the likes of Steve Aoki and the stuff he's doing as a DJ in the Sandbox. I've also seen the big stuff, and I'm not a massive fan, but Paris Hilton is very, very popular too. So to conclude, for me, I'm enthusiastic at the opportunity, and actually a point that was made about the difficulty with coming into the space. It is difficult to start to get to learn. I think COVID kicked in, and I started learning by going online, by talking to people that I trust, that I know, and not looking for an echo chamber of people to tell me that I'm right all the time. I wanted to be challenged because I think it's healthy to do so. And I took the effort. I'm not a crypto native, and I certainly wasn't a Web3 native. I took the effort to learn and took the time to be aware of maybe what was right for me and what worked for me. I'm a big gamer. Do I hate the fact that I play certain games and they are for a period or a season or a past, they're temporary? Of course. I spend a lot of money on those games. So I love the opportunity with a future where people have attributes and assets that they can own, they can increase their value and potentially give them a different revenue stream that was unrealised before. So I don't know how much that answers your question, but...
Yeah, I think it covers a lot of it, and if anyone else has anything to add...
Sorry, guys.
I think the genesis of this hatred is coming from the Discord servers that exist today, where initially, when I was a gamer, we used to use Discord just to hang out with friends, have chat, have in-game comms, and have good fun. The way Discord has kind of become today is people are like putting in links in and out. Half of them are scam projects, right? You'll click in, you get bugged to do something money, and the whole genesis of playing in general for fun is being lost out because people are now into, I want to play this because I'll earn something at the end of the tunnel which I can monetize and do stuff for. So the whole genesis of playing a game just for fun and hanging out with friends is going down, and that's the reason why that's
not true. That's not true. So I'll give you an example. Gods Unchained is a blockchain game that's on the Ethereum blockchain. You can transact on Immutable X.
Yeah.
Gods Unchained is in beta. They get 600,000 players and generate $52 million in NFT transactions. So we're on the precipice of things that can happen. It's not that there's a demise, it's that it's exciting. You should be excited. I can see it in your face.
No, I am excited. What I'm trying to say is that the reason why people despise the word play to earn...
That's a big word.
It's the reason why people despise is because the playing element of it is taking a backseat, which should not happen. Everybody is here to make money because people spend 15 hours of playing a game in a day. They have all the rights to make money out of it. They should be able to do that. But earning should not subsidize this fun of playing. That's what I am trying to say. And in general, the esports community and gaming community has always appreciated any brand, any activity that is adding to their gaming experience.
And those brands have appreciated all the money that those companies are pouring into them.
Yeah.
This is about redistribution of ownership as well.
No, yeah. So if like I was saying, the earlier example of giving fan tokens where fans can have access to teams and players and kind of dictate the way teams are run, it's about giving back to the community. And if that is happening through the whole play to earn and NFT model and the Web3 model, then it's all be it. But if it's just about building projects on top of a community or a game just to make money for a handful of people, I think that's not the way to go about it.
I think from my side, just quickly, the core issue I see currently with NFTs is that when you have a IP entering the space, mostly these NFTs are only for, you know, the traders, the investors, some whales in the crypto space. But the utility itself is not highlighted, right? Which goes back also to the
I'm going to
aspect.
disagree with that as well.
Yeah. Sorry?
I'm going to disagree with that as well. There's three segments of people that come into this space. People that love the artwork, people that really like the artwork, but they really appreciate the utility and they can see the opportunity with the utility. And then there's people that come in and trade. Those are your three segments. It's not just people that are coming in trying to make a quick buck. They exist. But it's not just made up of that. Like you consider we've got to be allies for this space.
No, what I meant more is though that's an issue where, you know, the way that these NFTs that enter the market are designed is that, you know, they're not intuitively designed in regards to the user journey, that you actually are attracting the core fans of the brand. You're mainly attracting the Web3 natives, right? And you have a lot of guys in the NFT space called NFT degens, so to say, that then go into these brands entering the space and, you know, going to flip them, right? So, of course, there's a lot of brands, and I think WAGMI United, what you mentioned, is one of these examples where utilities, at least down the road, are pretty crucial. But still, you know, there's a lack of kind of adoption in regards to that intuitive onboarding process. And plus, you know, I think the true adoption will not happen when we sit here and talking about NFTs in general, right? Because NFTs are just the back end at the end of the day. We don't have to talk about NFTs. It's really about what that NFT allows you to do, you know? Eventually, even one Bitcoin could be considered an NFT from the logic perspective, right? Because it's also not that fungible as people think just because they trade it on centralized exchanges. But I think kind of the intuitive journey and the utility needs to be more highlighted. And then we're going to have true adoption when people don't speak about the topics anymore, but when they just use it.
Thanks. Sorry, Santiago, I've been told we've got to cut it short. But Jasmine did say that there'd be some challenging points of view here, and I think that we've certainly delivered on that, and hopefully we can take discussion offline further. Thank you all for coming. If any of you have any questions for the guys that have been on stage, feel free to grab them for a chat, obviously. And yeah, thank you all. And
cheers.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cheers.